Good morning, friends. I want to talk about charitable giving the way I'm envisioning it with modern fintech, as we say. In other words, you can factor in blockchain, you can factor in cryptocurrencies. I spent a career doing work in the nonprofit NGO sector for the most part. I also worked for government in terms of training people how to use WordPerfect or whatever software. I wrote code for various non and governmental agencies. I'm aware of what it's like to be in the nonprofit world by personal experience. And I also spend time in coffee shops and have this coffee shops network idea. Here I'm explaining what hypertunes mean because hypertunes in these coffee shops are important. They're kind of fixed to the wall on LCDs or whatever. And the content varies, but they're kind of wandering reveries, you could say, somewhat like these videos in some way. But what's going on in one of these coffee shops? People are attuned to the world. They're learning to give funds to small, often very small nonprofits. I call them nonprofits because of the bookkeeping model. When you're a nonprofit, you're looking for grant income based on merit, based on what you're doing. You're a puzzle piece, you're a circuit chip. When you go to a Fry's or Radio Shack or whatever circuit store and buy chips, none of these chips power themselves. They have to be put in a motherboard or some other bigger like chip. They have to be fed power. And so once you've got a few replicated, it's easier enough to install another one because people already see what you're talking about. So I need a few prototype coffee shops just to get going here. And the coffee shops are out there. There are coffee shops, and people are sitting in them with their laptops. And I dare say some of them are doing socially responsible investing. Now, some chips, this is not done actually in electronics, but chips can't return more power than you give them. Now, in the world of money, if you think of money as an analogy for kilowatts, it seems impossible that we could get more power than we put in. It seems like a violation of the law of conservation of energy, which some people tell you is not really a law at the universal level. Fuller was like universe's perpetual motion machine, but he also had his expanding universe like we do. It's not that different. I wander into Fuller from time to time if you're just joining us because he's an inspiration for general systems theory in some ways. This is where we recognize the role of the sun and just cosmic sources of energy, by which I mean wind, which is in a way a solar derivative because sunlight keeps the air currents flowing, but also the turning of the earth and geothermal and the tides and the moon and everything from which and anything we can plug into, that's like raw energy. But then, with silicon, you just need a little tiny trickle. It's not about consuming a huge amount. Same thing with a human being. We burn less than 200 watts as a person, as a body. So keeping the humans alive at 200 watts apiece, that's less even. That's not really the hardest part, I don't think. The hardest part is having people coordinate their behaviors and actions in a way they are okay with. So number one, they're coordinated, and number two, they're okay with it. We'll often get forced coordination, which they're not okay with, obviously, and that leads to various kinds of breakdown. So I'm thinking with lots of people flooding into a coffee shop and learning how to provide funding in small amounts based on winnings, kind of like gambling. It's kind of like playing the lottery, except when you win, you get to pick where the money goes. But then you have your own profile, as does the coffee shop. And some coffee shops start attracting notice because of how intelligently they're directing their money. It's like these little trim tabby things have happened around the world thanks to this one coffee shop, and now things are taking off in a new way, and so other coffee shops take notice and tend to implement. And the question is, can a coffee shop become in itself a place that receives charitable giving money earmarked to pass on, to pass forward. It's like, well, if you're that good at investing in nonprofits, can we send our money to you and help you do it and stuff like that? And so I'm not in charge of all the circuitry that might emerge. I'm just saying the metaphor of thinking of chips on a motherboard and all how they feed power to each other and how this ecosystem develops. That's a full-time pastime. You can develop something pretty interesting with this technology. Remember, in today's golden age, you can put a QR code on the screen. I don't have one handy right now, and people could zap money directly to that QR code. I did have a QR code. I had a Bitcoin, but I deleted it. I need a solution that's more than about me. So little things that I do to cobble things together with toothpicks and glue and so on is not that interesting to me. It was the same with the Bismo. I could save all my pennies and go out and buy a business mobile, refurbish some kind of van, and drive around and say, "Woohoo! Look at me!" But unless it's a lifestyle and that a lot of us are living, it's not that interesting. Ditto the coffee shops. So if you want to get involved, it's not like I'm single-handedly going to do that. I'm going to help get the reveries on the screens, more or less. It's what I've been up to. All right. Hope that's interesting. We'll talk some more.